Merhaba lil kulhat, Yosemite Myron. Welcome everyone, my name is Myron. In today's lesson, I'm going to be teaching you the words for all the different family members in Maltese. And by the way, if you want additional help with vocab like this and much more, you should download my free ebook from the description below, which contains all the most popular Maltese words. Now let's dive straight into this video. Number 1. For family, we say il famiglia. That's il famiglia. And to say this is my family, we say din il famiglia tiai. Din il famiglia tiai. Okay, on to the next one. For I and or me, we say yin. Yin. However, you could also say yena, which is just the same as this, but with the letter a on the end of it, just like this. It doesn't really matter which one you use, and it's pretty much just down to personal preference. But yeah, some people might think that, you have to select one according to your gender, but as I mentioned, that's not the case. You can say whichever you prefer. Now, to say this is me in Maltese, you can say dan yin if you're a male, or din yin if you're a female. And by the way, this word right here, dan or din, mean this is. And you'll be seeing these a lot more throughout this video. You just need to keep in mind that if you're talking about a male, you should use dan. And if you're talking about a female, you should use din. Okay, on to the next one. Om for mother, and din ommi for this is my mother, or this is my mum. See how we use the word din? That's of course because mother is a feminine word. But why did become ommi? Well, let's take a look at the difference in meanings. As I said, means mother, but adding the letter e to the end of it, which is how we pronounce the letter I in Maltese, makes the translation my mother. And for that, we say ommi, as you can see on the screen there. But why do we do that? Where does the Maltese letter e come from? Well, this is actually something we call the attached pronouns. And the attached pronouns is just a fancy way of saying we add letters to the end of the word. And basically, this allows us to know who owns the noun or object or thing we are talking about, which in this case, the noun is of course the word mother, which in Maltese is om. You see, in Maltese, they don't use two words like we do in English to describe possessions, because instead they add these attached pronouns in bold to the words instead. Let me show you what I mean. Notice how in English we use two words. For example, my mother, your mother, his mother, etc., etc. Well, in Maltese, as I said, we just add letters to the end of a noun to show who possesses it. For example, to turn mother, which as I said is this word here in green, om, to turn mother into my mother, om becomes ommi, as we just add the attached pronoun e to the end of nouns to describe something that is owned by my or I. If, however, you want to say your mother, the attached pronoun is ok, which you can see over here in the table. And indeed, this makes the full word for your mother to be ommok. Okay? Then to say his mother, we add the attached pronoun u to make ommu. Do you see the pattern here? Well, let me show you the rest of them. So we have omma for her mother, We have omna, meaning our mother. Then we have omkom, your mother. And by plural here in brackets, I don't just mean one person, as in just your mother, but an entire group of people's mother. It's your mother, you know, as a collective. And lastly, we have ommom, meaning their mother. So hopefully that makes sense, because generally speaking, near enough this same pattern with the exact same attached pronouns we just went through happen all the way throughout this topic of family members. And I say generally speaking because, like always in Maltese, there are always some outliers. But for 95% of situations, the information that I have just told you is going to serve you extremely well. Now, let's take a look at the next family member. Misir. Misir, which, as you can see on the screen here, is the word for father. And to say, this is my father, we say, Dan misiri. Dan misiri. Once again, let's just take a quick look at the attached pronouns just to get them into your head. We have misiri for my father. We have misirek for your father. Misiru for his father. Misira, her father. Misirna, our father. Misirkom, your father. And misirom, their father. And as you may or may not have noticed, this ek right here was the only attached pronoun that was different in comparison to the attached pronouns for mother. Now, I just want to mention quickly that I will not be going through all of the attached pronouns for every single family member in this video, as that is not the purpose of this video. But just so you know, I do explain everything you need to know about this and the attached pronoun outliers in my online Maltese language course, which you can access from the link in the description below. But for now, let's just take a look at some more family members. I'll explain more about the course a little later on in this video as well. For parents, we say genitori. Genitori. And to say, these are my parents, you can say, daun genitori. Daun genitori. Next, brother. Who. Who. And dan chia, meaning this is my brother. That's dan chia. Okay, next. Sister is ocht. Ocht. And to say this is my sister, we say din ochti. Grandma, nanna. Nanna. And din nanti means this is my grandma. And by the way, if you're wondering why we bring in the letter t right here, I'll briefly explain it to you. This is something that we call it marbuta, and essentially this does happen in other scenarios throughout the Maltese language, but for this case specifically, whenever the name of a family member ends in the letter a, like the word nanna does, we actually drop the a and replace it with the letters t and e as a suffix. And if you're wondering where we get the letters t and e from, I'm going to ask you a very quick question. And depending on your current fundamental knowledge of Maltese, you may or may not know the answer to this. But what is the word for my or mine in Maltese? I'll give you a second or two to think about it. Okay, if you haven't already got it, it's ti. Ti. So this word right here is where we get the t and the e from, to make nanti. As I said, you're going to see this t marbuta suffix ending a few more times throughout this video, so keep an eye out for it. Okay, on to the next one. Nannu. Nannu. Granddad. Dan nannui. Dan nannui. Tia. Tia, meaning auntie. Din tsiti. Din tsiti. This is my auntie. Did you recognize the t marbuta with this one right here? Okay, on to the next one. Tsiu. Tsiu. Uncle. Dan tsiui. Dan tsiui. This is my uncle. Cugin. Cugin. Cousin, specifically a male cousin. Dan cuginui. Dan cuginui. This is my cousin. Cugina. Cugina, for a cousin if she is a female. Din cuginti. Din cuginti. This is my cousin, once again if she is a female. Om tar rispett. Om tar rispett. Stepmother. Din ommi tar rispett. Din ommi tar rispett. This is my stepmother. Missir tar rispett. Missir tar rispett. Stepfather. Dan missiri tar rispett. Dan missiri tar rispett. This is my stepfather. Now, for this section of the video, we are going to take a look at just a few sentence examples in Maltese using some of the vocabulary that we've just learned. And by the way, my goal here is absolutely not to overwhelm you. So don't worry, you'll have both the English translations and the Maltese translations written for you, and that will of course be visually on the screen, and I'm also going to read extra slowly. Okay, so let's do this. Din il-familja tiegħi. Fil-familja qegħdin erba'. Ommi, missieri, oħti u jien. Il-ġenituri tiegħi jisimhom Rita u John. Missieri Bennej u ommi tabiba. Oħti l-kbira jisimha Katie. Oħti Katie tħobb tixrob l-imbit u tiekol il-pastizzi tal-irkotta. Now that wasn't too bad, was it? Let me know if this is something that you found useful and would like to see more of, and I'll be sure to incorporate it more into my videos. Now, one last important thing that I really want to talk about is how my student Graham used my online Maltese language course, which you can access from the link in the description below, to confidently conversate with the local Maltese people whilst he was on holiday there. The extra support and the on-demand lesson that the course provides greatly accelerated his learning, allowing him to connect with his Maltese roots and family much sooner than if he only watched videos on YouTube. I mean, just imagine being able to order some pastizzi effortlessly whilst in the Maltese sunshine, or being able to pass the language on to your kids and keep it alive in the family. Wouldn't that be amazing? You deserve to give yourself this opportunity. Grazie ħafna u narak dalwat. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.